Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Maybe you are familiar with the blockade at the border between Poland and Ukraine, where the Polish drivers, truck drivers, and not only transport employees, they block the border and they don't allow but one Ukrainian trucker or car to cross an hour, so each hour one person, because they want to boycott these guys. The European Union allow them to come and transport, and they're afraid, the Poles are afraid that they will lose their jobs, which I think they will, because they can't compete with the Ukrainians, who are subsidized by everybody else from outside, so they can't compete, including the Ukrainians will work for less money. Therefore they're going to destroy the transport industry in Poland. So they block that. Now, the Polish government doesn't intervene to disperse them, obviously, because they agree with that. They are based on what? Votes and support. But did you know that actually it was not the truckers? Did you know that actually it was not the European Union or the Poles or the Ukrainians? Do you know whose fault it is? The Russians. Yes, Moscow gave some orders, but we have to stay united and fight the Russians. Now, I started making this video, but it was so idiotic that I stopped. Why? Because I have this little article right here from Ukrinform. Blockade of border with Poland. It was planned by Moscow. We must overcome it together. Today, the 28th of November, 2023. So I started the other video, and I started reading and reading and reading and reading. So I went down to find out where the Russians intervene. And it was somewhere here where they said that, right here, where they said it was the Russians' fault, right here. Orders with Russian flavor. Who is really behind the blockade? And I couldn't find the Russians in this and this. And then when I got somewhere right here, I stopped the video and I start this one. Because I'm not going to keep you here with reading garbage. Because look how long it is. And it says, the Russians will continue to look for weaknesses and hit them. It's between you guys. In fact, the crisis on the Ukrainian-Polish border is just the beginning. And the barriers are still ahead. And to prevent them from What? It's something between the European Union, Poland, and Ukraine. And these guys are bringing the Russians in. It's unbelievable. I can't. It says, if the involvement of the Russians in the organizing the blockades were brought to the public, the Polish security forces will no longer be able to afford to do nothing. The diplomat believes. Well, you can believe a lot of things. Pigs can fly and all that. So it's nothing. In addition, the expert emphasizes Washington's participation would be justified. To do what? Attack the Russians? Again, the European Commission and the Ukrainian border, it does have nothing to do with the Russians. And look, it still goes on. It still goes down. And I read this before I started this video, and I couldn't find what the hell. Again, Polish special services need to take action to find out who is behind the border blockade. Jesus Christ. Again, look, it ends just here. I read the whole article and I couldn't figure out why is the Russians' fault? What did the Russians do? Probably they talk about the war. And because of the war, everything, if someone's kid fails in school, it's because of Moscow. What's the title? It was planned by Moscow. We must overcome it together. What are you talking about? The blockade is the Polish truckers and the Ukrainian truckers. The Ukrainian truckers and their companies will work for less, and they're subsidized by the American money and other idiots. Not American money, bankers' money borrowed in our names and given to these guys. So they can't compete. The Poles cannot compete with them. It's like NAFTA. Remember NAFTA? Bill Clinton, that everybody wants to suck his thing? Yeah, NAFTA. And not only based on NAFTA, they allowed the Mexican truck drivers to come and take loads, now that kind of loads in the United States of America or Canada, and they were taking the loads much cheaper. So those companies were making more money, and they were killing the the trucking industry in these two idiot countries, USA and Canada. What did the American truckers do? Do you remember? Neither do I, because nothing happened. But here the Poles who have balls, they blocked it. They said, no, you can't. The politicians in Brussels, the politicians in Warsaw, garbage. We're not going to allow these guys to take our jobs with the help of Al Capone. So, yeah, it's Moscow's, planned by Moscow. How can we do it? Let's call the European Union. Hey, guys, can you make a stupid law policy over there that will allow the Poles to do the traffic, the border crossing, so they can, yeah? Oh, thank you. It is exactly how it worked. I was in the room. This imbecilic, but I couldn't find what exactly Moscow planned in all that long article, Ukraine form. But it gives you a lot of information, but all that could be probably narrowed in about 30 sentences, let's say 5 paragraphs. I'm just making up. That's it. But no, they gave us with all kind of garbage, and you can't even understand why in the hell the Russians' fault. What they do? I mean, I couldn't find it. Maybe you can find it. But from now on, everything that happens in our countries will be the Russians. Because of the Russians. Inflation high, Russians. Gas for your car, the Russians. Your child gets pregnant, the Russians. They fight in the bar, the Russians. And the elections, obviously, if the person who is going to be the Russians again. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.